welcome to the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast, where we invite you to spend just a few minutes with the staff at Cook Library. I'm Daniel Smith, the genealogy librarian, and you are listening to the Local Genealogists Speak podcast series. In this episode, we are hearing from a local genealogist about their experiences doing family history research. We are also listening for their tips and suggestions for doing genealogy. As a librarian, I am convinced that we all learn from each other, and we all have valuable information to share. By the way, this episode will be a part of a larger series of interviews with local genealogists, so be on the lookout for others. Today, I am joined by Dana, a local genealogist who has graciously agreed to answer questions about her genealogy journey, DNA, photographs, and online connections. In honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States, Dana will also share a favorite part of American history. Thank you for joining us today, Dana. As we begin, I would love to ask you, why did you start researching your family history?
Well, I realized I wanted to know more about the reasons my ancestors came to America, and I had no one to ask. My parents died in 1996 and 2004, and I realized if I wanted answers, I had to look for myself. I wanted to reconnect with the lives and stories and family history I had heard about when I was young. I began with my maternal side because I knew most of them and had access to a couple of their photo albums. I played around on Ancestry, and once I found some details, I became hooked.
I'm curious about those stories, but also how your genealogy journey has impacted you since you began doing this research.
Well, since I was able to confirm some of the stories I was told, it brought me closer to them at this point. I also learned many new details about my ancestors that gave me a deeper connection to my past and have a better understanding of what drove them to make some of the decisions they made. I also am able to connect with history in general by placing my ancestors in the different time periods of history. I was able to share information with my paternal aunts, who are 95 and 80 years old, and they have really enjoyed hearing about my discoveries on their side of the family. They didn't know they had Polish in their family, so that was news to them. And it really has given me a great hobby that I enjoy very much. I love mysteries and puzzles and history, so this is a perfect fit for me.
I love that, we always think about how genealogy, like I said earlier, brings things to life, but I like that it's given you opportunities to connect even with people who are living and to share what you're finding with them. I think that's one of the fun things about being a genealogist. If you find someone who's interested in hearing what you're doing, that you can really open up a whole new world to them. So it sounds like you've also done some DNA work yourself, and I'd love to hear about how DNA has helped you break through some brick walls in your research.
In one instance, finding a DNA match on my maternal grandmother's side gave me answers to the questions of where, how, and why she came to America. That was something I never knew. That connection opened a new pathway to find ancestors living in the U.S. It also introduced me to relatives I never knew existed. I always thought I had a small family, but in reality, there are so many new lines to research and people to connect with.
That's really interesting thing about DNA. When I submitted my own DNA, I thought, I'm going to connect with people I know, but there were so many people. For the most part, it's people I didn't even know existed at all, and it's kind of opened up a whole world to you or broadened the idea of what a family tree looks like. So, Thank you. All those sort of branches and even leaves and everything else, They get pretty expansive in that sense.
They do.
And then it sounds like you also have been able to utilize some photographs, and I'd love to hear how they've helped you with your family history research.
Well, this was a lot of fun. I have my maternal grandparents' photo albums from the early 1900s and onward. Fortunately, they captioned so many of these with names, dates, and locations. And I've used these photos to research relatives I never knew and also to confirm the stories I was told when I was young. It has helped most specifically with my research in Germany and Sweden. My grandmother went back to Germany on a trip in the late 1920s, and there are many photos that include her mother, sister, brother, and nephews with dates and locations that have been a great starting point for my research.
I'm always surprised at how many photographs I can find online that I've never seen before. My family had some like you, and some that weren't labeled. But I've been lucky to, I'm surprised at the number of people, both on, Ancestry and Family Search and other places where people have uploaded photos of that I've never seen before, or their ancestors I knew, but it's a whole new photo I've never seen before. So it's really fun how those photos can bring your ancestors to life, but also help you in your research.
Oh.
And then when we were talking about DNA earlier, I wonder if this question sort of relates to it. Have you been able to make connections with distant family members online? And if so, how has this helped you advance your research?
Yeah, that's actually been a fun part of all this. I've made several connections through Ancestry and MyHeritage. People have reached out to me or I've contacted them, and distant relatives that have made their trees available to me. So then I'm able to go in and look at their trees, and it just opened up many more avenues for me. And I'm hoping these connections will help as I plan a trip to my ancestors' hometowns. I have found people to be extremely helpful on Ancestry, and it seems like everybody wants to help everybody else, which is a lot of fun.
And then now, in honor of the America 250, it is time to ask you about your favorite part of American history.
Well, I know this is going to sound weird, but I like the time period during World War II and beyond, just beyond World War II. I liked, first of all, my parents were born in the 30s, so that's a connection I have right there. But also the thought of the rebuilding of the country and coming around and all the programs that came out of that now help and that we still use today and that were so helpful to people back then. So it felt like a time when the country really came together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And then thank you in general for sharing your knowledge and experiences with us today, Dana. We hope that you enjoyed listening to and learning from Dana. Hopefully you are inspired by something she shared or said. Maybe she even gave you an idea to help further your research. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with those who you think would also be interested. One of the best things you can do to support us is to take a moment to comment or leave a rating for this podcast. Those comments and ratings help get this podcast noticed. We'll be back soon. Until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.